Have you ever opened an app and it just feels right? The language is totally natural, the buttons make perfect sense, everything just flows? We take that for granted, but behind that seamless experience is this incredible, almost invisible craft. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the meticulous world of software localization, specifically for the Croatian language, to see how the digital world learns to speak with a perfect local accent.
All right, so check this out. On the left, you've got a perfectly literal word-for-word translation of backup. On the right, a totally different word. Now, for professional accounting software, which one do you think is better? And more importantly, why? The answer to that question kind of unlocks the entire secret behind this craft.
See, here's the thing. What we're talking about isn't just swapping one word for another. It's localization. And that's a deep technical and cultural adaptation that makes a global product feel like it was built just for you right in your home country. It's a true process of digital craftsmanship.
So where does a project like this even begin? Well, funnily enough, it starts with knowing what not to do. The very first ironclad rule of localization is understanding the parts of the code that you must never, ever touch.
So let's start with a key concept, the placeholder. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a fill-in-the-blank story. The code has a sentence with a blank space, and the placeholder, like this little %s you see here, is the symbol that tells the software, hey, put a specific name or number right here.
Right, so in a message like, you have %, new messages, that % is just waiting for a number to be dropped in. Now, if a translator accidentally translates that little piece of code, boom, the program has no clue where to put the number of messages. The whole feature would just break.
And it's not just placeholders. Oh no, there's a whole family of these untranslatable bits. That little ampersand in "and file," that's what lets you press Alt+F to open the file menu. Translate it, and poof, the shortcut's gone. Internal system names, global banking codes like SWIFT, even basic stuff like text direction, these are the hidden scaffolding of the software.
And this is where you really see the impact. I mean, sure, if a translation is just missing, it's confusing for the user. But look at the other stuff. A missing placeholder means the user just sees, you have new messages, with no number. A missing shortcut totally frustrates your power users. And translating internal table names, that could make entire features completely unusable for the people who need them most.
Okay, so once a localizer knows the whole do not touch list by heart, that's when the real art begins. This is where we shift from rigid technical rules to the nuanced creative work of choosing the absolute perfect word based on context.
Let me ask you a quick question. Imagine you're localizing a software plugin, and its name is Charter. What's the right Croatian word? Your first thought might be to just, leave it as is. But what does charter actually mean to most people in Croatia?
Yeah, it means renting a boat or a plane. Seriously. So if you just leave it as charter, your professional accounting software is now offering your users the chance to go sailing. And that right there just nails the whole problem. The correct word, based on what the software does, is graphiconi, which means charts or graphs. A completely different word, dictated entirely by context.
And you see this principle everywhere. Remember our first slide? Backup becomes archiva, not just because it's the standard term for Croatian accountants, but get this, it also saves 40% of precious screen space on a button. Plugin gets translated to dodaci because that's the formal professional term Microsoft uses. And words like default and custom have standard translations, zadano and prilagođeno, that users have come to expect.
Now, let's up the ante. Let's see how all this applies in an industry where the stakes are incredibly high. In financial software, a single wrong word isn't just awkward. It can have serious legal and, monetary consequences. For example, this software has to understand local tax law, period. In Croatia, there's a huge legal distinction between two ways of calculating VAT. One's the accrual basis, where you owe tax when you issue an invoice. The other's the cash basis, where you owe tax only when you get paid. The Croatian terms for these are legally distinct, and you absolutely, positively cannot mix them up.
But then, and this sounds kind of crazy, in the world of global finance, sometimes the rule is to not translate. To make sure a bank in Croatia can talk to a bank in Germany or Japan, everyone has to use the same universal language for certain codes. If you translate them, you basically cut that software off from the entire global financial network.
And look just how precise this gets. An income statement isn't just a report. It has a legally significant name, račun dobiti I gubitka.
A remittance advice has to be called obavious o plaćanju to align perfectly with the official Croatian chart of accounts. The takeaway here is that every single term is chosen for its precise, technical, and legal meaning in that specific world.
So, after navigating all the technical minefields and making all the tough contextual decisions, the final stage begins. This is the painstaking polish, the quality assurance that takes good localization and makes it truly seamless and professional.
And it really comes down to this, a meticulous line-by-line review of thousands of entries. This here is a page from a real localization audit. Look at the corrections, fixing single letters, typos, capitalization. This is where a simple error, it denistrist, is found and corrected to 14, the proper Croatian word for 14. It seems so small, but this level of detail is tedious, and it's absolutely essential.
I mean, the final checklist is just massive. You have to ask, okay, does the new Croatian word even fit on the button? Are all the messages consistent across hundreds of different screens? Does the software know the difference between the singular delivery note and the plural delivery notes? It is an exhaustive, all-out hunt for perfection.
And why go through all this trouble? You know, this quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. The whole point is to make the software communicate naturally, not like a chopped telegram. It's about creating messages that feel helpful and professional, not robotic and weird.
So, we've journeyed from untranslatable code to the high-stakes world of financial law and all the way down to a proofreader's checklist. When software feels intuitive and effortless in your own language, it is never an accident. It's the result of this deep, invisible craft. So the next time you use an app that just feels right, take a moment. What hidden work, what careful choices will you see?